I had that feeling before Bitcoin, that spiritual feeling, and I have it now, but it's amplified. Before they jump into, oh, Bitcoin's going to save me, you have appreciation for something that appreciates. It's currency, like a current, it's energy, but they're taking it from you with the inflation. Bitcoin gives you back your energy and your life. When I see all these corrupted officials and these unjust things going on in the world, I think, well, payback's going to be a bitch, because down the road, when all that money's worth nothing that they're selling their soul for, they're going to want what? The hardest asset in the world, not gold, Bitcoin.
Welcome back to the Bitcoin Nova. I'm here with Jeff Long today as part of our series together. Thank you for joining me again, Jeff.
Of course, it is a pleasure, and I've been closely watching you. Your channel's growing very rapidly, and you're getting a lot of Bitcoin celebrities on there, so congratulations. And I knew I always had faith in you, so you're going the right direction, so keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's really nice to see that people are enjoying the content. And for those of you watching, share the video with your friends or anybody who might enjoy this channel so we can reach more listeners. It's really nice to see that creating something that you love that people are enjoying, and that's why it's growing. So it's really
we're not influencers. We are Bitcoiners that are trying to just influence people to be better versions of themselves, right? So when you see an influencer trying to shill coins or subscribe, they kind of have a background motivation. We have a pure, organic, moral obligation and to do this. That's what I truly believe. So make sure to like, subscribe, and share, because there's not a lot of people out there like us, I would say.
Don't just watch. Amplify the signal. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let's spread hope and freedom to truth seekers everywhere. Together, we make the signal stronger. So what are your thoughts on the crash that we had recently?
Well, I just got back from a 3-day lobster trip, right? And on that boat, there was 2 guys from a year ago that didn't have any Bitcoin. And I was on the boat talking about Bitcoin a year ago. And they bought Bitcoin right after. And so they actually made a decent amount. So we were talking about it. And they were even saying, wow, it dropped 20K in one day. What do you think about that? And I said, I think it's great. Right? You know, slow and steady will win the race, right? Anything that just goes straight up can go down, right? And so I also said it's a good thing, because if it can go 20K in one direction, even though it's the wrong direction, it can easily go 20K in the right direction.
Right.
And we didn't crash. We're already back up. And so I think that we should, as Bitcoiners that know what we have, tell the people, don't be afraid. That's, what Bitcoin does. It does do max pain, but that's short term. Long term, it gives you the max gain, right? And so with that said, I would like to say, I watched on Dr. Satoshi's podcast. He was talking about that, not only does Bitcoin make you more healthier, but you have to also have that law of attraction and vibrate, right? Vibrate with gratitude, love, and appreciation. So then you attract Bitcoin to you, because the people that need Bitcoin are people like me and you. If we were super rich and successful, we'd probably look at and already had all these other assets, we would look at Bitcoin a little bit different, right? And so I always vibrated, even before Bitcoin, with gratitude, right? And appreciation. And so I think that's one of the reasons when I saw Bitcoin, I said, look, I'm not 100% happy with the government, with everything that's going on. And I have that belief that, that with gratitude and appreciation, I can attract, right, wealth and all these things. So here comes along Bitcoin, and Bitcoin also appreciates and has appreciation, right? And so if you yourself have appreciation, then it's a parallel words. It's the same thing. And so Bitcoin appreciates, you have appreciation. It's very harmonious, right? If you live in a fear-based mindset, nothing's never enough, right? Then, why would you be attracted to Bitcoin? your mind's going to think, I got to go work and make more money. And so it really is a spiritual inner blockchain that connects with the outer blockchain. And I do see this, because I've been into Bitcoin over 12 years. And, I had that feeling before Bitcoin, that spiritual feeling, and I have it now, but it's amplified. And it's because I believe of Bitcoin, not being, having your own job or, being your own boss and own your own business. All these other things, are great, but nothing manifested my reality better than Bitcoin. So I think people, before they jump into, oh, Bitcoin's going to save me, they need to do some inner working, have gratitude and appreciation for just being alive and Mother Nature and everything
Right.
else. And then it goes hand in hand with owning and securing Bitcoin, because now you know what you have. You have
Mhm.
appreciation for something that appreciates, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
you're right. That's so perfect, and it's so nice to connect those ideas, appreciating life and what you have, gratitude, and then Bitcoin appreciates over time, and you have this patience. You're not worried about these little price swings. You're not worried about the short term ups and downs. You have long term patience because you believe in the future. But that fear, I like that you're saying that, because that fear based mindset. If you don't have hope, or you're constantly worried, um, you don't have for the future, you're not really looking for an answer because you don't believe there is one. So it starts with appreciation. Like, you have to just start with gratitude. I think that's what can lead you to looking for an actual answer, because then you believe there might be one. Like, you're already grateful for what you have, and more things come to you, like you said.
Yeah, yeah, I totally believe that. Um, And then also, I would like to just give a shout out to Candace Owens, because I think what she's doing is amazing. And she also just said that she has lost faith in politics and Trump. And so I'd like to say that with us being Bitcoiners, we have a baseline reality, right? The governments, the religion, all this other stuff out there is just kind of a false reality, right? For instance, I just got back from a 3-day lobster trip. And I was telling you before, I went down and I got this big 7-pound lobster. I got a bunch of lobsters and I get to process them, eat them, have a great time. I was on a boat with no reception for 3 whole days, right? I didn't get to check the Bitcoin, and I didn't check the price of Bitcoin for 3 days.
3 days.
After 12 years, that was the longest time I did not check the Bitcoin price.
Wow.
And so my connection with Mother Nature goes deeper and deeper, because I'm literally going to the bottom of the ocean, right? Getting rid of all my fear based mindset, going down there, catching these big lobsters out of cages or out of caves, and bringing them up to the surface and processing them and eating them. It is amazing.
Wow.
Other people think, oh, it's a false reality. I'll just go to the store and buy one. But the unfortunate thing is that lobster goes through weeks of torture of trying to be, kept alive. And then usually all of these spiny lobsters in California, since they taste so good, are exported to China. So all the people in California, any lobster they get are usually from, like Brazil or farmed lobsters. They're not getting something that's right from the ocean. You're processing it, and, the next day, these things are held in cages down at the bottom of the ocean for, a couple days. Fish are eating their arms off, and then they're, kept alive until they're sent all the way to China. And so there's, a way of doing things, Bitcoin, where you're going straight to baseline reality and Mother Nature and connected, or you can go the fiat route where it's a little bit disconnected, a little bit false, right? And so what I see people, tied back to Candace Owens, like, hey, our politics, even maybe our leader, are compromised, right? You got to ask yourself, did Trump go to Israel and kiss the wall? Yes, right? Same with all the other leaders that we have, all our presidents. And so what does that tell? Are they really America first?
I want to take a moment to share a few brands I personally stand behind. These are real Bitcoiners building real tools with people like us. Microseed. Guard your keys, take sovereignty seriously, and protect what's yours. Satoshi's. Proof of walk. Because conviction doesn't just live online. You wear it and you walk it. Fug'em. Protect your vibe. Stay sharp, stay fresh, and stay focused on what matters. And the Bitcoin Advisor, for multi-sig Bitcoin security and inheritance plan. The whole thing about going there to kiss the wall is just because people have been saying how Israel owns America, and, they pull the puppet strings. So,
Yeah, and I would say there's Israel and Israel people, which probably the
yes.
people that are really nice, and then there's the government, right? And the government government's illogical, right?
Mhm.
Because logically, we say we have people in government that are people because we don't trust people, but we have people in government, so it's literally not logical, right? If we trusted people, then we wouldn't need government. So when you get this power, like maybe the leaders of these governments and states, they want to keep it. They get in a fear-based mindset, so they want to keep that power by doing what? War. Keep their money having power. So war again. And so it's all big fear-based mindset. And us Bitcoiners who have a new baseline reality can say, look, we can go back to Mother Nature, back to self-sovereign. You don't have to be in fear of your neighbors because your neighbors are created in the same image you are. They have the same gifts given to them at birth from the Mother Nature, right? And so they're basically, we're all the same.
Yeah, I
And
mean, at
so,
this day and age, like, you wouldn't even think, why do we still, have war? You think it's so barbaric
yeah,
and old-fashioned. It's like, it shouldn't be how life is still, and it's just because there's incentives to do these things and to hurt each other.
yeah. And so, with that said, if you do not like what you're seeing out there with politics, with everything that happened to Charlie Kirk, with governments, right, and wars, the only way you can fight them is, in my opinion, right? Because I've been thinking about this and thinking, is there any other way to do this? Is it's Bitcoin, is to take your energy, right? And opt out of that fear-based mindset, opt out of their fear-based energy that they're trying to give you. Because when they're giving you their energy, the currency, it's a currency, like a current, it's energy, right? But they're taking it from you with inflation. So they're stealing your energy. So for the people out there that feel tired, exhausted, things, they don't have riches and wealth. It's because, not because there's something wrong with them, it's because they're taking their energy and their life force and they're putting it in something that's taking it, right? Bitcoin gives you back your energy and your life force. And so if everybody said, look, let's come together, that are real, that have gratitude and appreciation, and they want that back, go to Bitcoin. Take it from me. It's disguised as an investment. I've been telling people this forever. But when you go down the rabbit hole, you see that it raises your consciousness, teaches you about the time value of money, gets someone like me to give back to society. It's my moral obligation. Why? Because I have so much appreciation because of Bitcoin. If not, I would be back to my old hustling self, working, doing whatever I can to get more money. And then I'd take that money and buy things that make me look like I have more money, right? It's like a facade. It's
Bitcoin doesn't have a ruler, so
hmm
with Bitcoin, you are free, no one's controlling, the currency, the inflation rate, it's all code, so you don't have to trust a person. And when you remove yourself from this fear-based mindset, that's all government. It's not the people, it's not the Israel people, government of Israel, it's the government of the United States. It's these greedy people in power, and Bitcoin takes you away from that system. So even for people like people who are stuck in this identity politics where they resonate so much with one party or the other and they're fueled with hate,
hmm
you have to kind of escape that, because that fuel, that hate is just, you need to be able to admit that some things that your party or whatever you identify with party wise is not right, and they're not perfect in any, like, like, there's people out there who will say that the party that they align with does no wrong because they just identify their
hmm
selves with this so much. So and one thing that I think when we talk about escaping, war and different things, is even if you think about what's happening with ICE right now and how people are being, you know, picked up, and, whether you're an American citizen or not, how would they know? They would just take you in for processing and you could be there for God knows how long. Um, but was the thing. I thought when Trump promised to get rid of, there was a whole migrant problem and there were so many people flooding the border. So he said we're going to get rid of the criminals. And then people who still align with what he's doing now with ICE is kind of insane to me because you're not just taking the people who committed a crime and just figuring out if they should, belong here or not. You're just going up and, snatching kids off the street to lure the parents in. And that's happening in Chicago, So I'm just, it's not something that might be happening everywhere, but it is happening here. And it's a scary thought to think that you trust somebody so fully and you align with them so completely that things like this wouldn't bother you, and that's
Yeah.
we don't trust everything somebody says. We like to go with, Bitcoin, which doesn't steal from you. It doesn't
Hmm.
harm you by starting a war. There's no benefit to start a war with Bitcoin and hurt people and and destroy lives and it doesn't cause destruction. It's like everything else that's fueled by greed causes destruction. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and I lived a month in Mexico before, right? In Morelia, Michoacan, right in the middle of Mexico. They didn't speak any English. So I know what it's like to live as a Mexican in Mexico, right? I would trust any immigrant over our government right now, So for our government to say, oh, we're going to take these people, I trust them more than my government. At criminals, different story. But look at El Salvador. That is what we should be implementing, right? Legalize Bitcoin as legal tender, mine Bitcoin, get rid of crime, easy and simple, right? We have a lot of kinetic energy and solar energy here in California with the waves and the sun and stuff like that. Why aren't we mining Bitcoin? And so, someone like myself who's been into Bitcoin 12 years, retired because of Bitcoin, now I'm a Bitcoin advocate at heart. The only answer I see is now I have to go into the swamp to try to fix it, right? So potentially that might be my future going in after I'm done raising my wonderful kids, because that's important, family first, is to go in and try to fix the root cause of that, right? Because the unfortunate thing, what Charlie Kirk, it kind of shows that a lot of our leaders are compromised with that APAC, the money, the root of all evil, money, right? And then it sways people's their mind. They sell their soul for money.
mhm,
For someone like myself that doesn't want money, that just
right.
wants freedom and Bitcoin, how could they buy me, right?
Mhm,
And how could and here's the thing is, I like when I see all these um corrupted officials and these unjust things going on in the world. I think, well, payback's going to be a bitch, because down the road, when all that money is worth nothing that they're selling their soul for, they're going to want what? The hardest asset in the world, not gold, Bitcoin, right? And where are they going to get Bitcoin? From people like you and myself, right? And other people that own Bitcoin. Do you think we're going to give it to people that commit genocide or promote fear? No, right? We will be the people that can now lobby the government. That we can who's the cops, they're going to want to work for what? Bitcoin down the road. We're going to have
mhm.
so much power, right? That it's our moral obligation to then tell the truth, to do the right thing. That is what Satoshi designed this for, not only to help us be self-sovereign, but to shed truth and light on all the unjust, crazy things that are happening. And for myself, the spear fisherman and scuba diver, I need to protect the ocean, right, and Mother Nature, and Bitcoin, which helped protect me. And so I think us doing this podcast, you having your podcast, is what the world needs to hear. Regular people, not influencers, and to say, look, this is what Bitcoin really is. It's not just an asset. It is disguised as an asset to bring someone that vibrates the right way into a higher vibration to take over what the leaders in this world are doing, because they're not doing the right job, right?
To teach them that there is hope and teach them why, we believe that this is hope and why we know that it's incorruptible and, why it preserves your wealth. But when we started our series, we started it because Elon was trying to promote this America Party, and we were saying we are with the Orange Party because we are not aligned with right or left. We're outside of that system. So with Bitcoin being orange, we're the Orange Party. So when you talked about making waves or shaking the tree or getting people to listen, it just felt like to me, it sort of feels like you making that noise. It kind of you know how you talked about manifesting? It just feels like it was part of it because then not long after we started our series, there's a group of people who reached out to me in my state in Illinois, and they have put together this Illinois Bitcoin Council. And there's actually a whole website that they've put together. There's so many great people involved. They're bringing in people from all different talents, and one of them was myself, which um, I have a podcast, but everyone can have a role in educating the masses. We can have a role to play in promoting people's voices or sharing knowledge that they have. But I was honored to be part of that group, and it felt like it was just something that because we started talking about this, it almost came to me. You know what I mean? Like it was, I don't know. So, but this Illinois Bitcoin Council, it's the whole goal of it is to educate policymakers in Illinois and meet with senators, teach them about Bitcoin and why there should be strategic reserves for Bitcoin. There was some news that came out. It was the first treasury for Illinois low income public housing, and that was put into effect. So there's so much happening right now, and there's a lot of noise being made around this. And Illinois is actually making things happen, which I'm really proud of because there are a few other states out there like Texas and I think Minnesota who have been mining Bitcoin and they have their own councils. But
Hmm.
Illinois, typically you would think of as a very strict state or that doesn't want change, but it takes people to educate, and that's what's missing because these people are our leaders and these people are misinformed being our leaders, and they
Hmm.
see these problems around them that they're trying to fix, but you can't fix the problems with a broken system. So when we take it upon ourselves, like you said, now when you raise your son, you're going to have more time and you would like to contribute or give back, there's going to be more and more of these councils popping up in every state, and every person could have a role to educate people that would be in charge in the future. And if those people don't want to listen, we'll vote new ones in because we
Hmm.
want people who will listen. And this future is changing rapidly, and they either have to evolve with the change and be adapting and learn from the people who are willing to teach and give their time to teach them.
Hmm.
And if they don't, I feel like, they're gonna get phased out, so
Yeah.
it's important to learn this because this is happening and it's really we are making waves.
Yeah, yeah. So with that said, anybody that in Illinois that's doing that, wants me to help implement this in California, reach out, let me know. I'd be happy to do that. Also, where are my Californians at? My Bitcoin Californians. And I know there's Dr. Satoshi. Everybody should check out his channel. But if anyone's in California, especially around Central California, reach out to me. We can put our extra time we have together because more of us together can create these bigger waves, right? That I can try to do a lot by myself, but that's just myself. And so you and everybody else that's on X, on the Bitcoin army, is such a great community there. And so, I tell people, and everybody on this community kind of knows, you stack Bitcoin and then you retire and then you give back.
So even the person that created it, he's an educator, Tim Niemeyer, and his friend Jeff Hilsenbeck, they both created this Illinois Bitcoin Council together, and they brought in so many great people. They brought in Joe Carlosari and they're just an array of Bitcoiners that are doing things. And when it started off with just him, he thought the same thing. I want to educate. I'm an educator,
Yeah.
but it's just himself. And maybe there's a part of him that thought, what am I going to do by myself? But you can
Mhm.
reach out to others, you can bring in help, and people in Bitcoin want to help.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really refreshing and inspiring to see that you can make a difference. It's not just, you thinking, well, what could I contribute? Everybody has a talent of sorts that you can contribute and help to educate, and to educate people who are leading us right now and not doing the best job doing so because they don't have all the information. So people who are making a decision or a judgment when they hear about Bitcoin based on zero information is not the way that they should be making
Hmm.
decisions or judgments. You need information first, and we need people to help spread that. So, yeah, you can make a difference. And I'm so excited to hear that you want to reach out and see how you can help in your state. And this is how things happen, people hearing about it and just ripple effects to states and people that want to help educate their leaders.
Yeah, that is true. Let's see here. Oh, speaking of creating, uh, maybe a couple months ago, I created my first shoe design, right? Made in Italy, called Bitcoin OG. It's like my Bitcoin OG series. Cause, when I started doing these podcasts, people were saying, "Oh, you're a Bitcoin OG. You got in, 2013." And maybe a double OG, whatever. And so it really stuck with me. I said, you know what? There's not any type of Bitcoin OG stuff out there, right? And I really like the Satoshi shoes, the designs, and everything with just something with Bitcoin. So I have Bitcoin necklace. I got my coin vigilante watch. I always get Bitcoin. I just got these things. Look at so for winter.
Yeah. Oh, love that.
Bitcoin being, right?
Love that.
So I'm doing my job like a walking billboard
Hmm.
for Bitcoin. And so I created these shoes not to, make money off of Bitcoiners. If you don't own Bitcoin, you're not a Bitcoin OG, or you don't have at least a full Bitcoin, you probably shouldn't be buying any, Bitcoin shoes or anything like that. But if you need shoes and you are somebody that loves Bitcoin, likes to support Bitcoin and have cool designs and things like that made by someone that is a Bitcoin OG. If you go to my X on the profile, you can link and you can see the first of the three designs I made. The fourth just came out and it came in the mail the other day. And I figured, wouldn't that be cool if I could show you and the world and myself the first time these shoes? Because this is a one of one. These are the only
Yes.
ones ever designed, came to me, and other people can buy them if they want.
Great.
And I'll show them, I'll unbox them real quick because this is
Nice.
something brand new to myself. So, showing something new on your show,
Thank
I think
you.
it's
Oh, this is
awesome.
awesome.
And then, because, retire, create, I'm just create.
Great.
So let me show you this. Here's a little sticker,
Nice.
Coin
That's
OG.
awesome.
In the background, I have more boxes, my other three designs that came.
Mhm.
So let's go ahead and open this real quick and see what it looks like.
Well, and I love the name Bitcoin OG because some people in the short term, you think of it like, oh, if you didn't get into Bitcoin when you did, you're not an OG. But when you look back from, oh, that's a really cool box.
You have to manifest it, right? So if you want to
Yeah.
become a Bitcoin OG, why not wear something that
Yeah.
stands for
And we are
freedom?
in OG status still. We're still not in like this main adoption phase for quite some time. So it's everyone's early that's getting into Bitcoin now.
It is. All right. So let's check out the box. Already,
That's
not
awesome.
bad, huh?
Love it. I love the OG like that too. Did you design the logo?
Yes.
That's
And then it
awesome.
has by Jeffrey Long right there.
Nice.
All
With
right.
number
So
4 on
these will
it.
be another pair that I will be wearing. And let's see here. When you pull them out, oh, it comes in this, made in Italy. So they are very comfortable. That was one thing I wanted to make sure, because it's not just about a look, right? They got to be comfortable.
So they're oh, those are
So this is
nice.
the fourth design, right?
Yeah.
There's alligator leather right here. It's kind of hard to see with this camera.
Mhm.
And then the Bitcoin orange suede, right?
That's suede, nice.
Right here, the Bitcoin OG.
That's awesome.
And then the orange stitching to match. Then to
Those could be
top
like
it off,
dressy or casual.
yeah, if you look at when I made all alligator ones with some orange for like more dressy, like work ones, I all Python snakeskin for one edition, black and white, and then I have my original ones that have some bright orange on it. But I figured not a lot of people wear bright orange all the time, and
Right.
it's hard to match bright orange, so I did some other ones. And then I want to show you one more thing on this thing right here, if you can see it underneath the tongue.
I love that.
Has the little incognito
Oh,
Bitcoin guy.
nice. That's really cool.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I would rather support Bitcoin OG shoes than Nikes or Skechers or all the other stuff that I normally wear. So
And
things
they're
like
good
that.
quality and they're all leather too, right?
Yeah, all leather,
Yeah.
suede, and alligator skin. I think the alligator skin's fake. It's just the fake
Mhm.
leather. I don't think they're not killing alligators and stuff.
Mhm.
But it's just the design, the quality, something unique that you can stand out. And so that's what I like to do is just create, beanies, hats, just things that are Bitcoin because it's something that's so passionate to me. I made just as much money, I guess, on Ethereum, other coins, stuff like that, but none of them have that like soul changing, higher vibration that Bitcoin does. The other ones just seem like they're gambling, they're just something there. But Bitcoin, I think it's because
Well,
of
they could all be
Satoshi.
manipulated and changed, that's what upsets me
Hmm.
about other ones because you can
Yeah,
think you're making money on them if they're going up or something, but there's always some rule that could be changed, some supply issuance that could be changed, and it literally is controlled by a human, so it's like I love Bitcoin because it's not. So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
totally different.
yeah. And whoever Satoshi is, thank you. We
Mhm.
appreciate you.
Yep.
And, the more I get into Bitcoin, the more I think that Satoshi isn't just a person, right? Because with quantum mechanics, you can send information to the past, right? And computers are just ones and zeros information. So if you can quantum entangle that, you can, from the future, send back code to us to then fix humanity, right? And think about it, if someone did or something did do that, wouldn't they take 1 million Bitcoin and put it in a wallet for the future when Bitcoin is the world reserve currency to then say, oh, I'll take my 1 million Bitcoin and help now rule the world? Who knows? But I do know.
Um, you're right.
I thought you were going to say I'm crazy. No,
You're onto something. No, I've
yeah,
talked I've talked multiple times about how I think that Satoshi like, I just think it's insane that, people have been studying cryptography since what, the 60s or 70s, and there was a lot leading up to the creation of Bitcoin, many years of study and in cryptography, and then just to know that when Satoshi came out with the white paper was at a time that we had I know since 2000, since 9/11,
yeah.
we had catastrophe happen in the US and a lot of money printing to help save, the economy, but when Bitcoin came out, it was 2008, we had the great financial crisis. It was like global ripple effect that needed to be contained by massive money printing. And that's when the white paper came out. So after years of trying to figure out how to make an e-cash or a cryptocurrency work, and Bitcoin being the first one, it was at that time. So I just think that I always think about timing and
Hmm.
why the timing of something is so important. So whoever created it, they wouldn't have been just sitting on it for 10 years waiting to put it out or longer. They figured it out at a time and it just lined up perfectly with, "Hey, we really
Yeah.
need this."
You're right. It came out the right time because now that when we are seeing evil disclose itself, right? To come out, like what happened with Charlie Kirk, we were literally seeing the devil out there, right? The devil tries to hide, but the
Mhm.
devil is real. So I would say that Bitcoin not only came out at the right time, but someone like Satoshi, whoever it is, when they came out with it, they had to think, well, in the future, when there's AI and the governments have such control, they would need people like you and I, right, that have good morals, that got those good morals, hopefully from understanding and using Bitcoin, can now fight against this evil and have power and have something, right? Because if Bitcoin came out right now, it would be $1 or two, and we wouldn't have that energy and that power built up. Someone like myself over 12 years has built up enough knowledge and power and energy because of Bitcoin that I can now take myself out of this matrix equation and then help California, whether it's politics or getting groups or things like that, help promote Bitcoin even more. So I think that it was a good weapon given to us to fight evil from some other dimension or something from the future, right? And Satoshi, for him
Quantum.
to say, I'm moving on to bigger and better things after he did, or they or whoever did come up with Bitcoin, they must be very powerful because how could you come up with Bitcoin and say you're going to move on to something better and bigger, right? Unless you're going to a different world or dimension to do something and fight evil there. Who knows? So,
Jeff
there's,
something.
yeah.
This is crazy. I mean, honestly, I love thinking about this stuff because that's what's nuts about Bitcoin. Because once you figure it out, that's why you're so fascinated by it because you
Hmm.
can't understand some of these things. And it's crazy to think so many things about Satoshi and how he was able to walk away like that and stay away and all those things. So there's so many questions, but my mind is just thinking, can you send information from like when technology gets advanced enough in the future with quantum and quantum entanglement. I don't know all that stuff, but that stuff is fascinating to me. I think that if that's possible, then it's not out of the question. It's so superhuman what Satoshi
Hmm.
did. Just the fact that human greed is such a powerful thing and he, she, whatever, was able to give this to the world and leave. No power, no fame or glory, it's very inhuman. So maybe they weren't even here. Maybe it was just sent. You're like you said, so it's just crazy. Maybe they are human, but they weren't in this dimension or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. That's the best part about Bitcoin is we really don't know. Either Satoshi's RIP, God rest his soul, or it's one of these other things. Because I do not think he's alive right now going, ooh, I have, a million Bitcoins sitting there. I have all this fame and I'm just going to be quiet. And plus the government couldn't find him. They can find Bin Laden in a hole. I'm sure they can find Satoshi through computers and all that.
Right. And Satoshi coming out with it at that time when it was worth nothing, like dirt nothing for years. For Satoshi to be that secretive from the very first email, that is very interesting because they were either so ultra paranoid knowing what Bitcoin would become in the future where they needed to stay secret from the very first email or first ever correspondence online. You're right. They found Bin Laden in a hole and they can't find
Yeah,
out where Satoshi sends an email from. And it wouldn't just be the US government. Let's say some people argue that it's the CIA that created Bitcoin and it's not just the US government covering this up. You would have other countries trying to figure out who Satoshi is too and trying to get to the bottom of it and have
that is true.
spies.
Other countries would say it was the US or whoever. Yeah.
Right. So somebody would have an incentive to get to the bottom of who this is. And nobody's been able to figure that out. So it's very interesting.
And Stacy, you've been into Bitcoin what, like 5 years? I think
Yeah,
6 years. Okay,
about
so
5 years.
um, once you are in Bitcoin a decade, it only confirms more of your understanding and your beliefs in Bitcoin. So I know you are a huge believer, and you have orange blood, and you are a great
Love that.
Bitcoiner.
Orange blood.
But imagine adding another 5, 6 years,
I know.
right? Of increasing your energy, your belief, your
Mhm.
manifestations, everything, because you're a creator. You're creating right now in your podcast. Imagine your podcast in another 5, 6 years with what you're doing, with people like me that appreciate you and love what you're doing, coming on here to just, I always go on and comment and just like and
Yes, we do.
and tell everybody to do that on your guys's podcast with
You
Dr.
really do. You've
Satoshi's
been
The Real Hard
amazing.
Money, because I think it's so important, right? Like everybody that watches your show should not just watch it and say, thank you, maybe a little like. They should say, wow, this is a wonderful woman that was cutting hair and Bitcoin changed her life. And instead of looking at it like an asset and selling, you understood it, right? Because you are grateful, you have gratitude and appreciation. So now you are getting that back. Well, times that by, or double that by another 5, 6 years. It only is going to have you create more appreciation and more wonder of who Satoshi is and how come other people aren't aligning with Bitcoin and this energy to get out of everything else, because it literally gets you to see how the government, the religions, everything, the healthcare system, right? With Dr. Satoshi can tell you that everything is a facade. It's all made up. It's not base reality, right? Your
Mhm.
food, everything. So what you do is you just opt out and say, look, I'm my own bank, right? I'm self-sovereign. I don't need anything besides my phone and internet, which connects me to you and everything, which is great technology. But you don't need to look at this technology like everybody else does and absorb the negativity from it. You pop up your phone, it's like, oh, you see someone getting martyred. Oh, you see genocide. You see, poor people. You see all overdoses. You see all these things, and you go, well, it could all be fixed if people just fix themselves within, but it's very hard to do that when you have all this propaganda and the government stealing your energy, right? Like how I used to give an analogy of growing your garden, right? You can grow with Bitcoin with great sunlight and nutrients and water, or you can grow it with the US government stealing all your crops and giving you no sunlight and poison water, right? And so, um,
Maybe
so
there was the when you think about incentive in general, the incentive is to keep you believing something for some sort of gain. But then when you think of the idea of Satoshi being from the future and having some sort of incentive, maybe if they saw a future without Bitcoin and all of these veils and all these falsehoods
mhm,
permeating society into the future and everyone living in false realities of every different kind and being manipulated to no end in the future and having ultimate control. Yeah, you have this incentive for whoever that was able to solve that issue and send it back in time or something to reshape that future because it looks terrible. So when you have
oh,
this level of control and this, you know, people are living in the matrix when we use that terminology all the time. It's
yeah.
you have you know, you can't you're living in a false it's like you're in the Truman Show, in the Matrix, all those ideas.
I know, it is amazing. I could not sometimes think and I say, "What would my life be like without Bitcoin?" Right? I would be having the fear-based mindset. I would be working all the time. I wouldn't be able to raise my kids, right? I wouldn't be able to do a lot of the things. Go on a 3-day lobster trip. I'm on a boat for 3 days, and everybody's like, "Oh, I had to work extra, 10-hour shifts for 2 weeks to get this off. As soon as I get back, I got to go back to work." And I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, I am so blessed that I get to relax, have this great vacation, not even worry about my phone, and then come back and have, something to look forward to going on a Bitcoin podcast with you, new shoe designs and hats coming in, a beautiful house and car. And my life seems so great and perfect. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to owe a lot of this to Bitcoin. Right. And of course, myself for understanding it and keeping it and, stuff like that. But it is such a wonderful vibration to be a part of because it just makes you way better. Everything that you are better.
That's so
So,
amazing. This has been I mean, I feel like we got onto this episode today with we always have such amazing things to talk about because we had ideas a little bit before we got on that we were brainstorming about what are we gonna discuss today? The current Bitcoin environment and politics and manipulation a little bit, but just seeing how the conversation evolved and the gratitude, portion of this whole thing is literally the entire theme. But um, just knowing about even Satoshi from the future is incredible to talk about. But just the waves that you make by speaking up, by having having gratitude for what you have and wanting to teach people about it and speak up. I was in Bitcoin for what, 4 years before I even started doing this podcast, so it took a while for me to decide to speak up and start this, but you are out here now, you've been talking about it for years, you're doing it on my show now, and just seeing that the waves that you can make is actually something that you see happening in the world around you because some people might think it's slow moving, some people think it's not happening that fast and adoption isn't happening, but I think it's going very well. And I think a lot of people are realizing like you don't hear about Bitcoin even when we go educate people about it or we talk there are some people who don't want to open their eyes and listen or don't have a need for it. Yeah, but it's nice to see that on the level of our leaders and politics and when you have people who are doing things like the Illinois Bitcoin Council, and they're able to go speak to senators that they aren't just shutting the door in their face, they're listening. They're trying to learn about something new because they know that they need it. I think that people know that if there's something that could help, they want to hear about it. And once you hear about Bitcoin, um, you don't just dismiss it. you actually understand. Most people, or a lot of people, luckily understand. So it just takes time for people like us to do that, to teach them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, with my Bitcoin OG shoes, I'll at least be walking in the right direction, right?
Mhm.
And
Thank you.
I do believe with more um power comes more responsibility, right? And so I hope and I'm manifesting a lot more power, right? And so I'm just gonna have more responsibility to go on more shows and do more things to promote Bitcoin because I know I've had hundreds of people buy Bitcoin because of me over the last decade. I want it to be thousands because I just feel like it's my moral obligation. People that need it, right? If you don't need Bitcoin, Bitcoin doesn't need you.
Because
But
it's
if
not
you
like you're
need,
just buying, you're not just, yeah, you're not just buying something to make money. You're getting into a system that cares about you because it protects
Mhm.
you.
Yeah,
It's you're getting into a different system, and it's good for you because it protects your time and energy. That's
yeah, Bitcoin creates a whole nother sandbox that
Mhm.
you can play in fairly. The other one is controlled by the US government or big central banks, and they're the big bullies. No matter how much money you have, they can print it, they can drop bombs. You can never, ever go against the bully. So Bitcoin actually lets you opt out and go to a different sandbox that's you can play fair, get along with everybody, and there's no big bully in there, right?
Mhm.
And so no other crypto or coin or currency can do that. That is why Bitcoin is so important. And when people understand that, whether you have $20 in Bitcoin or 20,000 millions, right? Doesn't matter. You are part of that other community, that other sandbox. You could dip your toe in the sandbox and play and then go back to being in the suppressed big bully, whatever. But as long as you know that sandbox exists and you can go there if you want, reduces your fear
Yeah.
just knowing about it, right? And so recommend everybody to study Bitcoin. Everybody that listens to this in the Bitcoin Army already does. But if you are happen to watch this video, because I send this video to all the people that I know, and a lot of them don't understand Bitcoin like I do. So when they say, "Oh, there's someone like Stacy and these other people that understand it, that know what Jeff is talking about, they speak his language, so then he must not be crazy. He knows what he's talking about, right?" And so, just keep sharing,
Well,
and,
all I know is that I've talked to Bitcoiners now. I don't know how many episodes I've had out, full videos, maybe like at least 60, maybe 70 episodes of people
wow,
that I've
good job.
spoken to since I've started. And every single time I speak to a Bitcoiner, I feel better. I feel like my energy is raised. I feel, like happier and more energetic. So I
Yeah.
hope that that did the same for you today. I hope that you felt this energy, you felt something that could spark you to learn about Bitcoin, and ask some more people questions. Join our community, join the Bitcoin Army on X. If you're not on X yet, that's really a great place to learn more about Bitcoin. And I'll have our community linked in my description in my channel, so it's always linked there for people. But that's where you find support. You need to find a community, you need to find people to ask questions if you don't know about it. But get on X, it's really the best place to connect with people.
Mhm.
Bitcoiners. Also, we have the Orange Pill app, but I feel like that's kind of like graduating to the next level. Once you're already on X, you can join the Orange Pill app and find local Bitcoin meetups and meet people in real life and actually have these great conversations in person. So I really enjoy talking to you, Jeff. Every time we speak, we have
Thank
such
you.
an amazing conversation. And thank you for doing this with me. And I can't wait to share your ideas and, get this out there for people because, yes, whoever's been watching, thank you. Thanks for watching and subscribe, share,
Yeah,
spread the
subscribe.
word. Mhm.
Alright,
Thank
Stacey, well,
you.
it's been a pleasure. Have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you down the road.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Have a great day.
Bye, you as well. Bye-bye.